What are you chasing? A person who doesn't text back, a job that keeps rejecting you, friends who only call when they need something, respect from people who don't even respect themselves? Here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. The moment you start chasing, you've already lost. You've surrendered your power. You've announced to the world that you're not enough, that you need validation, that you're desperate. And the world can smell desperation like blood in the water. 500 years ago, Niccolo Machiavelli understood something that most people still don't get. He watched princes beg for loyalty and lose kingdoms. He saw leaders chase approval and get destroyed. He witnessed powerful men turn into beggars the moment they started needing instead of being needed. Today, you're about to learn the most counterintuitive truth about power, success, and self-worth. The things you chase run away from you. The things you stop chasing start chasing you back. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why your desperation is destroying everything you touch. Why the people you chase the hardest respect you the least. And most importantly, how to become the kind of person that life conspires to serve, instead of someone life loves to test. But first, you need to understand the brutal psychology behind why chasing always fails. The psychology of pursuit. When was the last time you respected someone who was chasing you? That person texting 20 times when you don't respond. That friend constantly needing validation. That colleague trying too hard to impress you. Be honest, you find them exhausting? That's human nature. We don't value what comes easily. We don't respect what we don't work for. And we never chase people already chasing us. Here's the brutal truth. The moment you chase, you lower your value. You're not showing you care. You're showing they're more important than you. You're signaling they're the prize, and you're just a contestant. Machiavelli said, "Men are so simple and dominated by their immediate needs that a deceitful person will always find plenty ready to be deceived." People respond to perception, not reality. When you chase, you create the perception you're beneath them, and once that perception exists, it becomes reality. Marcus was brilliant, successful, accomplished, but he fell for someone ordinary, nothing special except she was unavailable. He called constantly, bought expensive gifts, rearranged his schedule around hers, posted about her hoping she'd notice. He became a chaser. Result? She lost all interest, not from cruelty, but because chasing creates repulsion. It triggers an instinctive response. If they need me this badly, something's wrong with them. When you chase, you're signaling weakness. You're prey, not predator. Now flip it. Think about something that came easily. A job offer you didn't apply for. A relationship that flowed naturally. An opportunity that found you. Did you value it? Or wonder if it was really that great since it came so easy? This is the paradox. We chase what we think is valuable. But chasing makes us value it less once we get it, and makes what we're chasing value us less as we pursue. Pursuit creates hierarchy. The chased occupies higher position. The chaser occupies lower position. Once established, nearly impossible to reverse. This applies everywhere. Chase a job desperately, lower salary. Chase clients aggressively, harder negotiations. Chase respect openly, less respect. Machiavelli understood power dynamics are always in play. Every interaction has leader and follower, pursuer and pursued. Whoever needs it less has the advantage. Burn this into your mind. Chasing doesn't prove you care. It proves you're scared of losing. And fear is the ugliest emotion you can broadcast. It attracts predators, and repels everything you want. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I stop chasing and start attracting. The scarcity trap. Let's go deeper into why you chase. This isn't about the other person. This is about you and how you see yourself. You chase because you believe in scarcity. You believe what you want is rare, limited, and you'll never find it again if you let it go. This is your only chance, your last opportunity, your final shot at happiness, success, or love. That belief is destroying you. Scarcity thinking makes you desperate. It makes you compromise your values and accept less than you deserve because you think less is all that's available. Here's what happens in your brain. Your amygdala goes into overdrive. It tells you you're in danger. You're about to lose something precious. You need to act now or face catastrophe. This triggers loss aversion. The pain of losing something is psychologically twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining it. So when you're afraid of losing someone, your brain screams at you to hold on tighter. But here's the cruel irony. The tighter you hold on, the faster it slips away. Think about holding water in your fist. The harder you squeeze, the more escapes between your fingers. That's exactly what happens when you chase from fear and scarcity. Abundance thinking looks like this. If this job doesn't work out, another will. If this person doesn't appreciate me, someone better will. If this opportunity passes, a greater one is coming. I'm not talking about toxic positivity. I'm talking about statistical reality. There are billions of people on this planet, millions of opportunities, countless possibilities for success, connection, and fulfillment. Machiavelli said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." The fool chases until he's exhausted and humiliated. The wise man walks away before he compromises his dignity. The moment you believe something is your only option, you've given all your power to it. You've made yourself a slave. You can't negotiate from strength because you have no alternative. But the moment you believe in abundance, everything changes. You can walk away. You can say no. You can set boundaries. You can demand respect. The second you believe you have options, even if you don't have them yet, you start behaving differently. You carry yourself with more confidence. You speak with more authority. You set higher standards. And people notice. They sense you're not desperate. They sense you're not chasing. They sense you have something they don't. Self-worth. When you believe in scarcity, you create scarcity. When you believe in abundance, you create abundance. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I believe in infinite possibilities. The power of absence. Here's something that will change everything for you. Your presence can be powerful, but your absence can be devastating. Think about the sun. When it's shining, we barely notice it. We take it for granted. We complain it's too hot. But when it disappears behind clouds, suddenly we miss it. Suddenly we want it back. Your presence works the same way. When you're always available, always responding, always there, people stop noticing you. You become background noise, wallpaper, furniture. But when you withdraw, when you create space, when you become scarce, suddenly you become interesting again. Suddenly people wonder where you went. Suddenly they value the time they had with you. This isn't manipulation. This is human psychology. We appreciate what we fear losing. We ignore what's always available. Machiavelli said, "Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved." I'm not saying you should make people fear you. I'm saying it's better for people to fear losing you than to take you for granted. It's better for people to wonder where you are than to know you're always waiting for them. Your time is your most valuable resource. When you give it freely to everyone, it becomes worthless. When you guard it carefully and give it selectively, it becomes priceless. Think about the most interesting people you know. Are they the ones who are always available? The ones who always say yes? The ones who drop everything for everyone? No. The most interesting people have boundaries. They say no more often than yes. They make you feel lucky when they give you their time. This is the power of absence. It creates desire. It creates curiosity. It creates value. I used to respond to every text immediately. Available for every phone call. Said yes to every invitation. I thought I was being a good friend, partner, colleague. But people didn't value me more for it. They valued me less, because I had trained them to believe my time had no value, that I had nothing better to do than wait around for them. Then I changed. I started taking hours to respond instead of minutes. I started saying no to invitations that didn't excite me. I started being selective about who got my time and attention. Did people get angry? Some did, but those were the people benefiting from my lack of boundaries. The people who respected me understood immediately, and new people started entering my life. People who naturally valued my time because I valued it first. When you're always present, you're training people that you have low standards for how you're treated. You're teaching them they don't have to earn your time or respect it. You're showing them you're desperate for connection. But when you create absence, when you become scarce, you force people to consider your value. You make them realize they're not entitled to you. You make them work for the privilege of your presence. This applies everywhere. The employee who works 80 hours a week gets taken for granted. The employee who sets clear boundaries gets promoted because people assume they must be valuable if they're so selective about their commitments. In relationships, the person who's always available becomes boring. The person who has their own life, interests, and boundaries remains interesting and attractive. Absence creates a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. When you create space, people rush to fill it. When you withdraw your energy, people notice the void. But here's the critical part. You can't fake this. You can't pretend to be busy or play hard to get. That's manipulation, and people can sense it. Real absence comes from genuinely having a life worth living, from being so invested in your own growth, goals, and happiness that you genuinely don't have time to chase anyone. When your absence is authentic, when it comes from self-respect rather than game playing, it has magnetic power. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My absence is my power. Self-worth as foundation. Let's talk about the root of everything. Self-worth. Because you can learn all the strategies in the world, but if you don't fix your relationship with yourself, nothing changes. You chase because you don't believe you're enough. You chase because you think other people's approval will fill the void inside you. You chase because you've placed your value in other people's hands instead of holding it yourself. That's the real problem. Self-worth isn't something you get from achieving things. It's not something you earn from other people's validation. It's not something that increases when you get the relationship, the job, or the recognition. Self-worth is something you decide. It's a choice. It's a declaration. It's a boundary you set with the universe that says, this is what I'm worth, and I will not accept less. Machiavelli said, The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. Show me who you allow in your life, and I'll show you how much you value yourself. If you're surrounding yourself with people who disrespect you, use you, or take you for granted, that's not about them. That's about you and what you believe you deserve. People will treat you exactly how you teach them to treat you. If you teach them that disrespect is acceptable, they'll disrespect you. If you teach them your boundaries are flexible, they'll cross them. If you teach them you'll always be there no matter how they treat you, they'll treat you poorly. But if you teach them you have standards, that your time is valuable, that you walk away from what doesn't serve you, they'll either rise to meet those standards or remove themselves from your life. Either way, you win. Your relationship with yourself is the template for every other relationship in your life. If you don't respect yourself, nobody else will. If you don't value yourself, nobody else can. If you don't set boundaries with yourself, you'll never maintain boundaries with others. Think about how you treat yourself. Do you keep the promises you make to yourself? Do you speak to yourself with kindness and respect? Do you prioritize your own needs and desires? Do you defend yourself when your boundaries are violated? If the answer is no, then you're showing the world that you don't value yourself. And the world believes you. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. You're not chasing other people because they're amazing. You're chasing them because you don't think you're amazing. You've put them on a pedestal because you see yourself in a hole. But the moment you step out of that hole, the moment you recognize your own value, the pedestal disappears. You see people clearly for who they are. Flawed humans just like you. Worthy of respect, but not worship. Deserving of kindness, but not desperation. Self-worth changes everything. When you have it, you stop begging for opportunities. You create them. You stop asking people to choose you. You choose yourself first. You stop trying to prove your value. You simply embody it. Think about magnets. When you're desperate and chasing, you're oriented in repulsion mode. When you're grounded in self-worth, you're oriented in attraction mode. Same person, same life, different energy, different results. You can't stop chasing until you believe you're worth being chased. You can't create healthy relationships until you have a healthy relationship with yourself. You can't attract abundance until you believe you deserve it. Machiavelli understood that true power comes from within. External power without internal foundation always collapses. But internal power, self-worth that's unshakable, creates external results that last. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am inherently valuable. The alignment shift. Now we get to the magic part, the moment when everything shifts. When you stop chasing, something remarkable happens. Life starts aligning. This isn't mystical nonsense. This is practical psychology, combined with simple cause and effect. When you're chasing, you're operating from a frequency of lack. You're telling yourself and the universe that you don't have what you want, and you're desperate to get it. This desperation affects every decision you make, every word you speak, every action you take. You make poor choices because you're focused on short-term relief from your anxiety rather than long-term alignment with your values. You accept less than you deserve because something feels better than nothing. You compromise your boundaries because maintaining them might mean losing what you're chasing. But when you stop chasing, everything inverts. You're no longer operating from lack. You're operating from sufficiency. You're telling yourself and the world that you're complete as you are, that you desire growth and connection, but you don't desperately need them to feel whole. This shift in frequency changes everything. You start making better decisions because you're not clouded by fear. You attract better people because you're not settling for whoever pays attention to you. You create better outcomes because you're focused on what aligns with your values rather than what alleviates your anxiety. Machiavelli said, "Where the willingness is great, the difficulties cannot be great." When you stop chasing what doesn't align with you, your willingness to pursue what does align becomes unstoppable. Let me give you real examples. You stop chasing a person who doesn't value you, and suddenly someone who actually appreciates you enters your life. You stop chasing a job that drains you, and an opportunity that excites you appears. You stop chasing friends who take you for granted, and authentic connections start forming. This isn't magic. This is bandwidth. When you're pouring all your energy into chasing things that aren't meant for you, you have no energy left for the things that are. You're so busy looking in the wrong direction that you miss the right opportunities walking past you. Imagine you're at a party desperately trying to get the attention of someone who's clearly not interested. You're so focused on them that you don't notice the person next to you who's been trying to start a conversation all night. The person who might actually be a perfect match. That's what your life looks like when you chase. You're so fixated on forcing something that isn't working that you miss all the things that could work effortlessly. Alignment isn't about giving up on what you want. It's about being honest about what's actually serving you versus what you're just attached to because you've invested time and energy into it. It's about the wisdom to know the difference between pursuing your goals and chasing validation. Here's how you know if you're aligned or chasing. Pursuing goals feels energizing, even when it's difficult. Chasing validation feels draining, even when you're getting results. Pursuing goals improves you as a person. Chasing validation requires you to diminish yourself. When you stop chasing and start aligning, you become incredibly selective. You start asking better questions. Not, how do I make this person like me? But is this person worthy of my energy? Not, how do I get this opportunity? But does this opportunity deserve my talent? This selectivity is powerful. It filters out everything that's wasting your time and creates space for what actually matters. And nature abhors a vacuum. When you create space, life rushes to fill it with aligned opportunities. The pattern is consistent. Stop chasing. Create space. Allow alignment. The challenge is that this requires trust. It requires you to believe that better is possible even before you see evidence of it. Most people can't do this. They'd rather cling to the known suffering than risk the unknown possibility. They'd rather chase crumbs from the wrong table than wait for a feast at the right one. But you're not most people. You're someone who's willing to bet on yourself. Someone who understands that the temporary discomfort of letting go is worth the long-term joy of alignment. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I trust in divine alignment. Now let's get practical. You understand the philosophy. Now let's talk about how to actually implement this in your daily life. Because knowledge without application is just entertainment. First, audit your life. Look at every area, your relationships, your career, your friendships, your habits, your environments. Ask yourself a simple question about each one. Am I chasing this, or is this aligned? If you're honest, you'll find areas where you've been chasing. Maybe it's that friend who never initiates contact, but always expects you to be available. Maybe it's the job where you constantly prove your worth, but never feel valued. Maybe it's the romantic interest who gives you just enough attention to keep you hoping, but never enough to feel secure. These are the areas where you need to stop. Not dramatically, not with big announcements, just quietly, firmly stop. Here's what that looks like in practice. The friend who never initiates, stop being the one who always reaches out. Let there be silence. If they value you, they'll notice and reach out. If they don't, you've learned something important. The job where you're undervalued, stop over-delivering. Do good work, but stop going above and beyond for people who don't appreciate it. Use that extra energy to build skills that will help you find a better opportunity. The romantic interest who's lukewarm? Stop texting first. Stop being available whenever they want to hang out. Stop adjusting your life around their schedule. Live your life fully and let them decide if they want to be part of it. This isn't about playing games or being manipulative. This is about respecting yourself enough to stop investing in things that aren't investing back in you. This is about conservation of energy. This is about alignment. Now here's what's going to happen when you do this. You're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel guilty. You're going to feel like you're being mean or selfish or cold. Your brain is going to scream at you that you're making a mistake. That's normal. You're breaking a pattern. You're going against years of conditioning that told you chasing is how you get what you want. You need to sit with that discomfort. Don't react to it. Don't cave to it. Just observe it, acknowledge it, and stay the course. Tell yourself, I'm feeling uncomfortable because I'm changing, not because I'm doing something wrong. Machiavelli said, "He who has not first laid his foundations may be able with great ability to lay them afterwards, but they will be laid with trouble to the architect and danger to the building." You're laying new foundations. It's supposed to feel unstable at first. As you start withdrawing your energy from what's not aligned, you need to simultaneously redirect that energy toward what is aligned. This is crucial. You can't just stop chasing and then sit around waiting for life to happen to you. You need to become so invested in building your own life that you don't have time to chase anyone. Having goals that excite you more than any person does. Building skills that make you more valuable. Cultivating hobbies and interests that fulfill you. Creating a life so rich that other people's presence adds to it, but isn't necessary for it. You stop chasing to create space. Then you fill that space with your own growth, your own joy, your own purpose. You become so complete within yourself that everything else is just enhancement, not requirement. When you're living this way, you stop looking needy because you're not needy. You start carrying yourself with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their value and doesn't need external validation to confirm it. That energy is magnetic. That energy attracts aligned opportunities, relationships, and experiences like nothing else can. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I build instead of chase. We're near the end, and I want to leave you with the most important truth of all. The truth that will determine whether this video changes your life or just entertains you for 30 minutes. Here it is. You will never fully stop chasing until you fall in love with yourself. Not in a narcissistic way, not in an arrogant way, but in a deep, genuine, unshakable way that makes you your own best friend, your own biggest supporter, your own safe place. Most people spend their entire lives running from themselves. They chase relationships to avoid being alone with their thoughts. They chase success to avoid confronting their insecurities. They chase approval to avoid facing their own self-judgment. But what if you stopped running? What if you turned around and faced yourself? What if you actually got to know yourself, healed yourself, and fell in love with who you are. That's when everything changes. That's when chasing becomes impossible, because you're already complete. You don't need anyone to complete you because you're already whole. You don't need external validation because you validate yourself. You don't need to prove your worth because you know your worth. Machiavelli said, "A prince ought to have no other aim or thought, nor select anything else for his study, than war and its rules and discipline. For this is the sole art that belongs to him who rules." In modern terms, your only job is to master yourself. Everything else flows from that. Your relationship with yourself is the most important relationship you'll ever have. It's the foundation of everything. If that foundation is weak, everything built on it will be unstable. But if that foundation is strong, everything you build will be solid. Think about the areas of your life where you're strongest. Those are the areas where you've done the inner work, where you've healed old wounds, where you've built genuine confidence, where you don't need external validation because you have internal certainty. Now think about the areas where you're weakest, where you chase, where you're desperate, where you compromise yourself. Those are the areas where you haven't done the inner work yet, where old wounds are still bleeding, where you're trying to use external sources to fill internal voids. The solution is always the same. Go inward, do the work, heal the wounds, build the foundation, fall in love with yourself so completely that everything else becomes optional rather than necessary. This is the ultimate freedom. When you don't need anyone or anything to feel complete, you're free to choose what actually serves you. You're free to say no to what doesn't align. You're free to walk away from what diminishes you. And here's the beautiful paradox. The moment you stop needing people, the right people show up. The moment you stop needing validation, genuine respect appears. The moment you stop needing success to feel worthy, real success becomes possible. This is what Machiavelli meant by power. Not the ability to control others, but the ability to control yourself. Not external dominance, but internal sovereignty. You are the kingdom, you are the ruler, you are the territory that must be conquered, controlled, and cultivated. When you understand this, life becomes simpler. You stop asking, "How do I get them to like me?" and start asking, "Do I like me?" You stop asking, "How do I make this work?" and start asking, "Does this work for me?" This shift in questioning changes everything. It puts you back in the driver's seat of your own life. It makes you the protagonist of your story instead of a supporting character in someone else's. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am complete within myself. So here we are. You now understand why chasing destroys your value, why scarcity thinking keeps you trapped, why absence creates desire, why self-worth is the foundation of everything, and why falling in love with yourself is the ultimate solution. But understanding isn't enough. You need to decide, right now, in this moment. Are you going to keep living the old way, chasing, desperate, compromising, suffering? Or are you going to start living the new way, grounded, selective, boundaried, aligned? This decision will determine your next year, your next 5 years, your entire life. The question is simple. Will you stop chasing what depletes you and start building what fulfills you? Will you stop begging for crumbs from the wrong table and start creating a feast at your own? Machiavelli spent his life studying power. What he learned is that real power doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from mastering yourself. It comes from being so solid in who you are that nothing external can shake you. That's what happens when you stop chasing. You become unshakable. You become magnetic. You become the kind of person that life aligns with. For the next 30 days, stop chasing. Don't text first. Don't over-explain yourself. Don't compromise your boundaries. Don't beg for opportunities. Instead, build. Focus on becoming the best version of yourself. Invest in your goals, your health, your skills, your peace. Fall in love with your own company. Watch what happens. Watch how people's behavior changes. Watch how opportunities appear. Watch how life starts aligning with what you actually want. If this video opened your eyes, hit that like button. If you're ready to stop chasing and start attracting, subscribe and share this message with someone who needs it.